Hey, deserving listeners, 90 Day Fiancé, the couples tell all. Let's watch. My name is Dr. Kirk Honda. I'm a therapist and a professor. As I always say, since this is a psychology YouTube channel, there's a chance we're going to get into triggering material. So watch with care and talk with your therapist about things that might be triggering for you. Triggering is a real thing. PTSD is a real thing. Complex PTSD is a real thing. And you need to protect yourself from being triggered because it can be really distressful. And I'm sure you all know that, but let's watch.
With him, if you are like, touch is so important for you, why are you going to be in a long distance relationship? Like, I can see that Johnny is actually really hurt. Hey, there are so many other things, as Memphis mentioned. Do sexy time, touch yourself, use plastic. I use dildos.
Buy a toy.
Yeah, good. Sex positivity, non-sex shaming. Jasmine and Usman are chiming in with that. So is Memphis. You know, the show has it changed over the years? I feel like this kind of talk, I don't remember hearing. Maybe it was, but this actually is the sort of talk that you almost never get on television, but it's so refreshing. Now, I don't know if this would have worked for Ella. I think she's not necessarily talking about orgasming. I think she's talking about she wants to hug him and hold his hand and to have him sit next to her and to be with her, because of course that's what she wants. These other, like with Jasmine, I don't know how long she was away from Gino before they were able to see it. 2 years, which is interesting. I don't know if we knew that detail, but for imagine you're in love with someone and you've never seen them in person, and for 2 years, during that time when that's all you want to do is be with that person. It doesn't justify cheating, of course, but anyway, so they're talking about I use plastic, da-da-da.
And that's going very low. Cheating is not acceptable. It's not.
Ella, how would you have felt if Johnny had told you he had slept with someone else because of the long distance and he could not handle it?
Honestly, I would not be very hurt by it.
Yeah. So, one, it's very self-serving to say that, and often people, when they sense that they're being trapped on a logical fallacy or a double standard, they will say that when in reality it's not true. But again, I think it's possible that she would be okay with it. She has languaging around openness in relationships, and she might actually even say, well, we don't have an open relationship, but I would get it. 2 years is a long time. It's rough. So sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And it doesn't, like I was saying earlier, for some people, it would be a deal breaker. It just devastates them. It's like, nope, I cannot recover from this. Other people are like, well, I'm not enthusiastic about it, but it's more on the scale of having them in the middle of a fight call me a bad name. I don't want them to call me a bad name, but I'm not going to break up with them because of it.
Because people make mistakes, and distance is a big problem. And I totally understand that I did wrong, and I know that. But no, I would not have been mad. I would not have been upset. I would have been understanding from the start. I wouldn't have even freaked out.
I don't know about that one. I would need some more convincing on that, because that seems very self-serving to say, and very common that people will say, you know, like, and on my couch in my office, couples will challenge in this way. It's like, you know, what if I did that to you? The other person, I'd be totally fine with it. In fact, I'd be like blissful about it. And it's just like, you would? That sounds highly suspicious. But I think that if I were there, I'd be like, how would it hurt you at all? Would it concern you at all? Would you get worried at all? Are you very open, but like even when you get together and you're in the same town, how would you feel about infidelity then? Because it's possible that there's a good amount of truth to what she's saying right now.
I don't believe that.
I don't believe that. You know why? Because you did it, so you can say that.
You're going to end it.
No, I just, because...
I don't even believe. I don't even believe that is a mistake. That is no mistake in my dictionary.
So Ella, my question is, and be honest, okay? Did you actually cheat on him, or it was just a way to put some pressure on him, like,
So I've seen comments of people hypothesizing this, that she didn't actually cheat and she's lying about it. I think there's a fair amount of speculation around that, or literally people just being 100% sure of that perspective. Of course, there'd be no way for us to know. And of course it's possible. It's possible that literally everything we are presented with on this show is a lie. So is it possible that she didn't actually cheat? Sure. But I find it interesting that that accusation is applied to Ella and not others. When other people are caught cheating or admitting that they cheated, I don't hear that accusation very often. And I don't know what that is. I over time have become suspicious that it's fat shaming, that people are looking at Ella and thinking, who would want to be with her, which is, of course, ridiculous and oppressive and harmful and unfair and body shaming and all sorts of ridiculousness. So I don't want to accuse people of that, but I'm just, when people started, when I would see that comment and I would see people saying those sorts of things, initially I was just like, well, maybe. But then the repeated assuredness that people would have around it, I think we should really look at ourselves and our own biases and our prejudices around body and around, to be extreme about it, there's a dehumanization of bigger bodies, and people will look at people with larger bodies and say, like, you're not really human. No one would want to have sex with you. You are disgusting, and you're not even a sexual being. And we do this to a lot of people, actually. It's not just based on body size, but there's a lot of that. If someone is in a wheelchair, for example, we might do that to them as well. It's just like, well, sex is out of the picture. There's no sexiness. There's no sex. You don't have a sexuality. You're just like a person in a wheelchair. There's that kind of thing. And of course, it's also done to people of different ethnicities. Asian American men sometimes will complain about that, where Asian American women are sexualized and fetishized and exoticized in this harmful way, and Asian American men are seen as feminine and not sexy and friend zoned a lot, that kind of. Anyway, so we do this very severe. So I don't know. Let me know what you think. Do you think that that's what people are doing to Ella when they're saying that? Or do they have some sort of data point that I'm unaware of?
You hurt that man so bad. I'm sorry. That's how I feel.
So Ella, I want to know this, and I'd like for you to be honest. Since that time, have you been faithful to Johnny?
100%.
You have not been with anybody else since that time?
Yeah, I tend to believe her. Of course, we wouldn't know, but she admitted to Johnny that she cheated. Johnny is still with her, so she has a track record of cheating, but she also has a track record of admitting it. So I would give her the benefit of the doubt on that and say that if she did cheat again, she probably would tell him. She might not, but she also wouldn't have a huge incentive not to tell him, because he is, flexible along those lines, seemingly. Again, I want someone to ask him questions like, Johnny, how do you feel? Is it lower on the scale? Because everyone is applying their own value system to this, and basically shaming Ella, you're a terrible person. They're not saying that directly, but that's the kind of vibe. And instead of going to Johnny and saying, how much anger should I have towards Ella on your behalf?
And absolutely nothing happened.
A guy?
Yeah, it was a guy. Mm-hmm. And I was talking to him. And so he had offered to fly out and celebrate my birthday because I told him that I was going to be alone. And so.
So you had a guy fly in to spend your birthday with you?
Yeah, it raises, I guess, a little bit of a suspicion, but it's entirely plausible that a friend would fly out to see her, that she has a friend, or even a guy that has a crush on her, or guy she has a crush on, but that nothing happened. It's completely plausible. Is it also possible that she cheated and she's lying about it? Yeah.
On like just the Asian people chat.
So it was a chat like white women, Asian men chat?
Yeah.
Right. So why are you still on these dating sites?
I'm not on the dating sites.
It was
a
somebody
Facebook
that you
page.
had met.
I mean, it's a worthy question, but again, it's completely plausible that she is, making friends. I think that this show sometimes is black and white about this kind of thing. I think of Stephanie and Erica when Stephanie found that Erica still had a quote-unquote dating app on her phone, and Erica was like, well, I'm not dating anyone. I use it for work and for networking and stuff. I think that maybe it's older people or something. I'm not sure, but there are now Tinder isn't really like this to my awareness, but other like, what is it? The Plenty of Fish, is that one? There are other, what one would call a dating site, but for a lot of people, it's much more than that. It's also a place where you can meet friends. They will literally say that in their profile. I'm not looking for a romantic partner. I'm looking for friends. Or it's a way just to socialize, just to kind of message with people with similar values or something. My dog is barking. And it's plausible. Is it also possible that she's dating these other men? Okay. If I were to hypothesize, I would say that she was missing Johnny and has a loose boundary regarding being with other people, as evidenced by the cheating. She's alone, and she goes on this site that she's always been a part of. Some men start to communicate with her. There's maybe not overt flirting, but flirting, indications, and she doesn't feel like she's cheating on Johnny. Johnny might even know that she's doing this sort of thing, but she is looking for some kind of indication that she's attractive or worth it or something. This is complete speculation. I'm guessing we're not going to get any detail on this, but given her track record, I can imagine her saying, well, I'm not going to cheat on Johnny because that was wrong, but it does kind of feel good to have someone pay attention to me. And because I thought she was going to say, this was an old friend of mine that I've had for many years, and yeah, they flew out. It happens to be a guy, but it doesn't mean anything. But what she's basically saying is she was communicating with someone on a website and recently, and then he flew out. Now, of course, what everyone will say is, well, he was wanting to have sex, and that's why would he do that if he wasn't wanting to have sex? And that's a ridiculous statement that we don't know. There's a lot of reasons why someone would fly out. It's possible that there was flirtation. It's possible that she might have even said, look, I'm not going to get together with you, but I like spending time with you. And the guy's like, I like spending time with people too. Anyway, there's just a lot of options.
In the spare bedroom.
So he spent the night at your house. Okay. Were you guys intimate at all?
No.
He flew in to see you, spent your birthday with you, stayed in the next room, no problem.
Just as friends.
I do not know that. I do not know that.
Oh.
Oh my.
So that's a red flag. Now, again, I'll still hold out for the possibility that Ella is telling the truth. We don't know, and we didn't get to see a lot of Ella and get a lot of data regarding her personality. But I don't know. She could be lying. At the very least, though, she should have told Johnny, by the way, and the fact that she withheld it is shady and maybe an indication that she's trying to cover up something.
Do you not remember the conversation that we had about him the whole time after?
I do not know why he can just stay night in your place. I do not understand.
Okay, so it sounds like Ella did tell him, but didn't say that this other man was staying in her place. So that is, of course, lying by omission in a pretty significant way.
I just offered it instead of the hotel because he wanted to save money. I just honestly was just trying to be nice to him.
So, Ella, you're saying that you told Johnny that this guy spent the night.
I did, and we talked about everything, and I told him everything that happened.
Ella, I think you're sorry.
Yeah, everyone, Usman, Kim, Memphis, others are basically indicating, if not non-verbally, verbally, that Ella is lying. And I find that to be strange. Like, is it strange to think about? Now, could flirtation have been happening? Sure. Could he have wanted to have sex with her? Okay, we don't know. We don't know. But it's not inconceivable that she would spend time with someone, even if there was flirtation happening, and not be physical with someone. I don't understand. It's like, I find that this point of view is maybe based on like movies where people just have sex. There's never a moment like this where people don't have sex. And is that, anyway, so do people understand that sometimes people don't have sex with each other? Like, that happens. So now it's wrong. She should have told her boyfriend that a man was sleeping in her house. It's an important detail to mention. She also is claiming that he slept in her house because she was just trying to be nice. Well, what about Johnny's feelings? How about saying, get a hotel because I have a boyfriend? Like, I just don't understand the thinking there.
Sorry, because I'll tell you one thing. If there was a man staying at my house, Usman would be calling me day and night.
Oh, yeah.
If there was a woman staying at Usman's house, I would be on the next flight to Nigeria.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why would you call a man to come spend your birthday
Because
with you?
everybody bailed on me. Everybody bailed on me all the time.
Are you?
I think what she's saying is she doesn't have any friends, or not any dedicated friends. I think that's what she's saying. And I hope that someone can hear that. Everyone bails on me. It doesn't justify, but it does provide some context of the desperation. It also is an indication of the hypothesis I have about the developmental issues that she might have, not in terms of developmental disabilities, but in terms of personality. This feeling of, if you're of the mindset of a child and you're 13 and you're just like, I just want someone to be there, you're pretty self-centered in that way. You don't necessarily, when you're a child, think about how it will impact other people. And a common example of this is you really want you're 10 years old and you really want an expensive gift for Christmas, and you're begging your parents, and your parents, you know that your parents could afford it, but your parents say to you, look, that is very expensive, and if I get you that, then I'm not going to be able to buy anyone else a present, or all your siblings are going to get demoted in terms of the amount of money. I'll have to go into debt. So a 10-year-old, not all, but many will be like, I don't care, buy it for me anyway, because that's what it's like to be a kid. You're just not there yet to understand and to have that kind of empathy. That's normal. And for some of us, we are stuck in that phase because we were traumatized or something happened where we were unable to develop past that. There are many people like that, and it doesn't excuse it, but it does explain the mindset that someone would have in that situation.
Do you need people to like coddle you? Like you can't spend your birthday with yourself?
I didn't do anything.
But you coulda.
Just future. I mean, you never know. Obviously, you have a tendency.
It's also a little along the lines of my hypothesis. It's pretty loose, of course, that when you're young, you regard birthdays much greater than you do when you're adult in general. I will say, myself as an adult, I regard my birthdays as pretty important. I don't force everyone around me to do things, but I would say on the bell curve of variability and human differences is there are many people that I notice that when their birthday happens, as an adult, they don't even really care. It's just it just goes past, and for some people, they just would rather not do anything on their birthday because, what do I care? So I'll disclose that, but I wonder if this is another indication of, when, for those of you who have kids, their birthday's a big deal, and if their expectations aren't met on their birthday, it can be particularly devastating. So I don't know if that's a part of it, of just like, well, it was my birthday though, I was entitled to that, and it kind of fits with that hypothesis a little bit. But I want to be clear though. I hope that, because sometimes people I'll see will repeat or will think they're repeating what I'm saying, but they'll change what I'm saying, and so I don't want people to think I'm labeling her or I'm looking down on her. I'm just saying, as a jumping off point, if you know someone like this or you are like this, a typical way of framing it, particularly from the outside, is, grow the F up. A different way of seeing it is that there are certain developmental experiences that we have that actually promote growing up. And without those experiences going well, we might not grow up. And so you can't just shake someone and say, grow up. You actually have to start from the beginning and start to have those experiences so that you actually will, so to speak, graduate to the next kind of phase of life. And under healthy circumstances, we will naturally go through those, but sometimes people have impingements on that development.
Do you believe her?
Yes, I still want to trust her.
You want to trust her, but do you believe her?
Very hard to say at this point.
It's good to see that a lot of his reactions to Ella thus far, I've had a hard time relating to. I've been like, huh, really? And I've been hypothesizing, well, maybe he just doesn't care, or some people don't. But this reaction is much more relatable, at least to me. If he didn't have this reaction, it's fine. But this is much more typical, particularly on the show, of he's just like, wait, what? So he slept at your house? That's pretty awful. I don't know if I trust you, and I want to trust you that you didn't sleep with him, but I don't know, So I think that's understandable. Now, if you're Ella, I would hope you would turn and say, it's understandable you don't trust me. I'm sorry. I should have told you. I shouldn't have lied. He shouldn't have slept at the house. There wasn't any particular reason for that. I can understand where you're coming from. Let's see what she says.
Why you let him stay your place for the whole night?
That's a valid question.
I'm sorry that there was a misunderstanding. I thought when this had happened that he was okay with it, because I honestly did ask for permission, and I thought that we were on the same page.
Okay, it's possible there's some truth to that, but that would be, it sounds like they had a conversation like, hey, this guy's going to come. Is that okay with you? And I guess it's possible that Ella thought it would be assumed that the guy would stay with her, but that's irresponsible to not make sure, right? So I just want to be clear, he's going to be staying with me. These kinds of details, it would seem intuitive to ask that question. But I don't know, it's possible that she mistakenly thought that would be assumed. I think most people would not consider that to be an assumption, but I think some people could, based on the way that they talked about it.
And obviously we were not. If he had said no, I would not have invited him.
So it sounds like they had a pre-conversation about it, which is great and, healthy. And she's saying if Johnny had said no, then I wouldn't have had him come out. So, okay, I think we can believe that. Now, did Johnny feel pressured? Did he feel coerced into saying yes to that? I don't know.
Johnny, when will you see Ella?
I booked the ticket just after February.
So you're coming in 1 month.
Yes.
Do you believe he's going to come?
I'm just waiting to see.
Interesting. So I think this is just, a couple months ago, February, because now that at that point Omicron was starting to wane, that they might see each other. So maybe we'll see him on another season.
No.
So I do feel bad. I thought that we were good. I didn't mean for that to happen.
Do you want to come upstairs and have some lunch?
I have lost my appetite.
She's sad. Again, it's reminiscent of Danielle, where it's a just below the surface is a lot of pain and a lot of insecurity and perhaps a lot of shame. And you just get that sense that when this part of her isn't exhibiting herself, she is trying to hold it together. She gives off that vibe to me that on a daily basis, she's not doing well emotionally. And if that's true, we could imagine that you would have days where you'll do anything to have some semblance of happiness and non-pain. And you might resort to cheating, you might resort to flirting with other men online. And it doesn't excuse it, but it does put it into context. I have said this before, that 100% of the time in my anecdotal experience with clients and with friends, when infidelity happens, underneath it is something like this. We don't frame it that way in our society. We're like, he's a D-bag trying to have his cake and eat it too. 100% of the time, I'm sure there are times when it's not this. Obviously, psychopaths aren't necessarily, but psychopaths are suffering too. But when it comes to non-psychopathic cheating, it is an act of desperation. It is an act of am I good enough? Am I lovable? It can be a passive aggression against your partner because you feel like you can't be upset with them, so you try to communicate this other way. It is sometimes a masochistic thing. Some people will hate themselves, truly, truly, truly hate themselves. Ella might be one of these people because of traumas they've been through, and will engage in self-sabotaging behavior. I've heard people along these lines. I don't know if Ella did this, but I've worked with clients like this where upon reflecting on cheating, the experience that they went through, there's a pretty significant part of them that the whole time they were cheating, they were basically telling themselves they were a piece of crap the entire time. And upon exploration, it was almost like they wanted to throw themselves physically into a situation where someone did things to them to make them to externalize the way that they feel on the inside. They feel like a worthless bag of meat on the inside, and they want to be treated that way. There's a lot of nuances to that, of course, and people are complicated, sexuality is complicated, but in that particular example, that happens. So that's just another example of where infidelity comes from. It doesn't justify it. There's a lot of other roads to dealing with those feelings, like therapy. So it's not okay. It's not okay to lie. It's not okay to cheat. But she is, I think, providing some of that context that I often will see when people cheat.
Hey, baby. Yes. How is your feeling now?
I feel like I'm really sorry about my birthday.
It doesn't matter. I do not blame you.
She's giving more and more indications of the conceptualization that I'm hovering around. There's also dependent personality disorder. I'm not diagnosing from afar, but that would be another hypothesis. Listen to my whole deep dive on that for patrons only, I believe. There's different modes of feeling sorry for something you did. And the mode that she's in right now, I think, is she's falling into deep self-hatred and shame right now. And it's still self-centered. Because in this moment, she is there's a different vibe if you're not focused on the self. I want to be clear, this isn't narcissism. I mean, in the broad sense, in the clinical sense, you could argue it has that language around it, but it's not the way the internet talks about narcissism or even narcissistic personality disorder. We all have narcissistic tendencies. We all tend to look at ourselves we just tend to look at ourselves because, of course, that's the way we are. Anyway, so there's a different way that she could be saying this. She could be like, I'm so sorry I did that to you. Oh my goodness. Are you okay? How do you, there's none of that from her, and there never has been towards Johnny. It's much more, I think she teeters between two places. One is a place of like trying to survive, again, solely focused on herself. She's just trying to get through the day. And then there's this, which is also self-focused because there's so much suffering happening. And so when she's in like survival mode, she tries to hold it together and act like she's not tough, but that her feelings are justified and this sort of thing. But I think this is behind that, which is just utter self-hatred. We're not seeing overt indications of that, but I think that's what's happening. And then that provokes from Johnny, because Johnny's like, oh no, like he probably knows that she has this tendency where she just falls off that cliff. And so he quickly goes into this mode of trying to reassure her, which is good, but I think this indicates a dynamic that happens a lot off camera.
Really wanted to have a good birthday. That's all I wanted.
It's all right. I still want to try and still want to meet you, baby. We're going to meet in person. Make it come true.
I love you so very much.
Yeah, and maybe they're made for each other. I mean, God knows what they're going to be like in person. I'm really curious what they're going to be like. I hope they actually are on another season of 90 Day, because I could see it going really well, I think, but who knows? And it also would be an interesting case example of this type of relationship and of what I believe to be an hypothesis about her personality and her inner issues. Because if they're together, I would be curious to see if she does exhibit more of that personality type, and then I would be curious to see if he can actually adjust for it and be a good match for her, given that, because he seems to be that way. Then now, on the other hand, it's like the Johnnies of the world will have to sacrifice themselves a lot in these kinds of relationships, but he might have support in other areas. So, but you hear that language, like, I just wanted to make my birthday special. It just sounds like something that a child would say, right? Like, you're a grown woman, and I think she's late 20s or something, and she's like, yeah, I lied to you about having a man sleep at my house, but I just wanted to make my birthday special. It's like, huh? Like, those two things don't really fit together. I'm not judging her at all. I hope that y'all can see this and have compassion. I do. I actually have a tremendous compassion towards both of these individuals. The way that she presents herself, at least to me, shows to me that she's suffering a lot. And in a way, and when she exhibits the suffering, it's not in a way that, like Angela, I always bring up Angela because she's such a stark example. She's also exhibiting a lot of suffering when she does the things that she does. But it's harder to have compassion for that display for me. This display of suffering, it's easy for me to care and to have compassion towards her. So that's my take on it.
I'm so blessed to have him. He was so understanding, and she loves me, and that's why I will wait for him. Yeah, I know I'm gonna marry that man.
Yeah, but God knows how you'll be together in person. It's always this humongous question mark. So I hope things work out. I really do, for the two of them.
Thank you. I would say that I totally enjoyed it, but there was a little bit of unenjoyment there. But it was worth it. I don't regret it. I don't regret it. It was rough, but I told my truth, and I still have my man, and we're still strong. So that's all that matters to me.
It's an interesting summary of the situation. After talking about her cheating and a lot of people coming to Johnny's defense, her summary is, I told my truth and I still have my man. Who knows what she means by that? It's hard to know. I guess I would have been more encouraged if she said something like, today was tough. I had to face the reality that I had done something pretty horrible. And I also was upset that everyone was accusing me of having contact with that other guy when he was just a friend. That wasn't very good. But overall, we're still together, something like that. But I told my truth and I still have my man. But, I don't know what she means by that. It's just impossible to know.
Yes, thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Johnny and I are still as strong as ever. I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty sure we are the most stable relationship.
We are the most what relationship? What did she say? Let's rewind that.
I don't want to brag, but I'm pretty sure we are the most stable relationship.
Oh, stable relationship. I don't want to brag, but I think we're the most stable relationship. Okay, maybe from her perspective, seeing Mike and Jimena, Gino and Jasmine, I guess. I wouldn't say you're more stable than Hamza and Memphis because they're married and have seen each other in person. So, and doing fine, seemingly. Yeah, so, okay. That's interesting that she would say that. Well, it's probably true. Johnny seems dedicated. There doesn't seem to be any threat. I mean, we did see Johnny, so I don't know how to feel about that one. But I think that's probably inaccurate. I wouldn't say they're the most stable relationship on the show, but I would say that she's not delusional potentially for believing that their relationship is good and has a good possibility of working. But we all understand that once they meet in person, then we'll find out. All right, well, I invite you to join the conversation below in the YouTube comments. You can also join the subreddit, the Discord, the Facebook fan page, the official Facebook page, and the Instagram. The main communities are on Discord and the Facebook fan page if you want to develop relationships with other listeners, other viewers of the podcast. And there's a lot of people in those communities who are really supportive and really great people. Discord and the Facebook fan page. Those places also have moderators that can moderate the conversations to make sure that it's safe and friendly and following the rules, that kind of thing. Also, when you're commenting below, that's a community as well. It's not moderated, really. So just keep that in mind. But I find that y'all are extremely nice and appropriate 99.9% of the time. So that is that. Also, I see a lot of the comments, and if you're wanting to communicate to me, that's a 50-50 chance I'll see it. If you really want to contact me, go to the website psychologyinseattle.com, click the contact button, and email me from there. There should be a link below for that if you have a direct question, that kind of thing. I don't always get to all the questions, but I try to. And everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.